Hi there, my name's Ben and I like to read. Today we're going to be reviewing a science fiction book by Cixin Liu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, called The Three-Body Problem. Now, I don't have much background on the author, except that Liu is essentially considered to be the Arthur C. Clarke of Chinese science fiction. Is a very, very accomplished within China for the genre, and essentially the Three-Body Problem was essentially the one. It won the Hugo Award and catapulted Liu's writing into essentially crossed the cultural divide. This was originally written in Mandarin Chinese. It was translated by Ken Liu, and it is part of 3 books as well. So essentially the plot of it is during the Cultural Revolution in China, there is a secret military base that's undergoing a secret mission to try to find extraterrestrial life. So they're firing signals into the ether of space to try to find them. Little do they know, on Alpha Centauri, which is the binary star system which is closest to us, there is a civilization and of these aliens, and they're like, oh, okay, so there's some life out there, and obviously their technology is way more advanced than ours. They don't have light travel yet, but they start to essentially try to gain some more information about us, and they do that through essentially a video game, which is titled The Three-Body Problem. So it involves a lot of physics and a lot of other stuff. Essentially, the reason why is because the planet that they're on is stuck between the star binary, and they're trying to figure out how to survive. And the reason why they're also trying to gauge our intelligence. So it's almost like that thing that happened years ago, that Cicada 3301, where they would just post these riddles and these cryptography questions as well, just to sort of figure out, to gauge people's intelligence and everything. No one really knows what it's about. So essentially, that's how they're probing for information. Eventually, the main character is this gentleman by the name of Professor Wang. He's a professor of physics, and essentially, standard science fiction plot goes around, he starts playing this game, tries to get into it. He's like, oh, okay, something's going very fishy here, and eventually the book ends with on a cliffhanger where they determine, okay, yeah, no, this is an extraterrestrial thing, and they're coming, they're on the way. Essentially, they're there for about, they're going to arrive in about 450 years or so. Their fleet's on the way. They don't have light travel yet. So what I really liked about this book is that, one, it's very exciting. I can easily see why it won the Hugo Award. Super fun to read. Great concepts as well. And there is also, of course, that, those scenes, because it flips back and forth between the times of the Cultural Revolution and the present day of the book. And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun to read and to just enjoy. It's one of those ones that you can pick up and you're like, all right, nice. It's like watching, it's like binging Netflix, essentially, for all of you ones who don't read. And shout out to my Mandem who reads. But essentially, what I like about this is that it leaves some really, really glaring questions. At the end of the first book, it's like, okay, these guys are coming, right? 450 odd years or whatever. They're going to be here, right? Everybody who's alive on this planet right now is not going to live to see the aliens come. Their kids aren't, and their grandkids aren't even going to be alive to see the aliens come. So the question is, how do you motivate the population now in order to start building all of these huge defense systems and space forces and to start training when they're never actually going to fight this enemy, right? So essentially for them, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if it was going to happen in, let's say 80 years, they'd be like, okay, well, I don't want my kids or my grandkids, but, this is, like, even way farther than that. I mean, like, yeah, sure, in the grand scheme of things, 450 years is like, okay, they're going to be here fairly quickly. But in our perception of time, it's like, well, that's so long to go. Why should I care? And I think that's the strength of this book as well. It's not only is it entertaining, it makes you think. And all good books are supposed to make you think. But philosophically, anyway, it's like, yeah, well, like, why does this matter? And again, forgive me for always bringing it back to Nietzsche, but it is that concept, again, of the Superman, of where, okay, like, you are not going to, yes, you are going to reap some benefits if you end up becoming the Superman. So maxing out your potential, reaffirming your values, and essentially, as God is dead, you can now create new values in his place, and man is but a bridge, right, between beast and God, right? But again, you're going to reap those rewards. However, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't necessarily matter, right? Because you're not going to see that knock-on effect. And that's the great part about this book, is that the fact that the question was brought up. Okay, how are we going to motivate people in order to make sure that we build this right and that we're ready for this threat to come? So I think it's a really, really thought-provoking book. I was given this as a gift by a very good friend of mine when I graduated university, and I essentially inhaled this book in about 3 days. It's great. I read it once then. I recently reread it, and I'm probably going to reread it again. If there was something that I could compare it to with regards to its scale and its scope, I would be hesitant to compare it to Frank Herbert's Dune, just because talk about scope and talk about just detail and world building and everything like that. Shout out Frank Herbert, by the way. But that said, it's very. I would say that, that obviously the three-body problem scope is much smaller than Dune's, but at the same time, it's still significantly larger than most other science fiction out there, especially, like, let's say, the Star Wars novelizations or what have you. I would definitely recommend this. It's not too long. The translation is really well. I don't read Mandarin myself, but essentially this is a 400 pages, a little over it. Reads really quickly, especially once you get into it. Some great concepts in there. The flow is really, really nice. I mean, I had to keep reminding myself, I was like, whoa, like, this is translated. It reads like it was written in English. Ken Liu did a fantastic job. I would have to recommend it. Don't skip out on it. If science fiction isn't really your bag, okay, I'll say maybe you can be forgiven for not reading it. It's definitely one of those books that if you are a science fiction fan, you are going to absolutely love. If you're just a casual, you're going to find it very interesting. If you're not a science fiction fan, I'd say skip out on it. But that said, if you've read the book, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. If you haven't read it but are interested, pick it up, give it a read, and let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.